There are some other things that you need to know, and I perhaps should bring up some food for thought. That is, quite frequently, custody is made to the mother in an administrative process. And some of you might say, well, what's that? What's an administrative process? That's when she goes down and signs up for welfare. Yeah, just signs up for welfare. Now, I've always had a problem with that, and I'd like to put this point out there again, and I would like to have you guys get involved, everybody get involved, not just the guys, but everybody get involved with the legislative process here. Because that particular event has done more to damage families than any other event in this country. When the woman goes to the welfare office to sign up, they ask her three basic questions. The first one is, who is the father? The second question is, where does the father work? And the third question is, well, how much does the father make or earn per month? With those three questions answered to the satisfaction of the welfare clerk, they make an administrative decision that mother has custody of the children and that father should pay child support. Now, please bear in mind that there is not a divorce in this particular process that I just shared with you. There's no divorce. Please bear in mind that no judge has made a decision. Please bear in mind that all of this is on your tax dollars because they're using state and federal tax dollars for these welfare offices and for all these funds. Now, when a woman does that, she's offered some goodies. She's offered, of course, food stamps, monthly food stamps. She's offered a monthly check. That's 2 items. And some young women seem to think that's great. Not all women, but some of the young women starting out think that's great. They're also offered Medicaid services by the state. In addition to that, they're offered an opportunity for Section 8 housing. So all they have to do to get those 4 goodies is to walk down to the welfare office and hold their hand out, and it's done. Now, please bear in mind what my problem is with this is it's totally unconstitutional. It's unconstitutional because no one checks with the father. No one asks the father in that set of circumstances if he would like to have custody of his children. And it looks like the state and that particular welfare office would be using tax dollars to make a decision about the future of that child being with the mother and not the father, denying the father due process and equal treatment under the law. Would it be nice if they took that information and sent the father a letter and said, your woman and your child is down here looking for state assistance. Would you like to come down here and pick up your child? Perhaps have custody. If that were done, that would be considered due process. It would also be to the taxpayer's interest because you may save a welfare case. It would be in the child's best interest because you have an opportunity to place the child with a working parent, the father. But we don't do that. We err and violate the Constitution. We run up tax dollars, or we spend a lot of tax dollars, and we don't have the best interest of the child at heart. And so I maintain that that whole process has done more to damage families than any other process. And we've been doing it for years and years and years. And now we've reached a point as we enter the 21st century where families that actually stay together and try to work things out are on the decline, big time. And that's one of the major problems. Then we continue to fund the programs that seem to want to put this together and make it work. And there's no amount of money, there's no amount of patchwork programs that can make this work. The end result is the destruction of families. The end result also, not only the destruction of families, but children who are raised that actually make their way eventually to prisons and jails, children who are raised disturbed, children without a family nucleus, children without moral values, and the whole system just explodes from there on. I'm telling you this to motivate you to get involved with your legislators, to ask if they know the name of the father before they place the mother and the child on welfare. Why not ask this guy? Okay. Now, with all that, I understand we have a call or two on the line, so we're going to take a call or two, and we have another guest that will probably get involved and tell his story too. So let's take the first call. Hello there, caller. Hello? And I can't hear a thing. If the control room has got a call there, they're going to have to turn the volume up. They need to check on the volume there. In the meantime, I'll tell you what we'll do. We've got some additional footage that I want to roll while they work on the volume on the phone call.
Hello?
Okay, go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, okay. I just want to mention to you, Victor, that I did see the number on the screen, and I do have a kind of a comment or kind of a question here. I was on a flight recently to Las Vegas, Nevada, and it turned out that there was a young lady sitting beside me, and she described a case which may be typical for second families, where her current husband, was paying child support to the first family, but to his first wife, who supposedly had legal custody of the kids, but he had physical custody of the kids. And the courts moved so slow on this sort of thing that it was just financially devastating for the second family there. And could you do you have any ideas on how to kind of expedite the process, or any way to alleviate the process, so that they have some compensation later, or sort of like is there any way that they can, this second family of the children, which really has the physical custody, doesn't have to pay, or at least gets paid back some money from this terrible financial burden?
Let me thank you very much for the call. Thank you. Getting all kind of signals in here. That particular question comes up from time to time, where family number 2 is left to sort of starve at the feet of family number 1. And so far this country doesn't have a solution for that. And that continues to be the case. As far as I know, there's no solution. If someone out there is watching and they have a solution that should be considered to be in place, offer that solution. I suppose, like you, I could come up with an idea, and I wouldn't want to offer my idea in any other way other than as being considered, that after people part, in my opinion, they should be able to take care of themselves. If they can't take care of themselves, then they ought to reconsider parting. But we don't have a system that does that right now. We have a system that seems to want to make everything, pull it back to father's responsibility, put it all on his back. The whole system rides on father's back, even though we are berated. Do you realize that the welfare system could not exist if fathers weren't paying something into it, not only through tax dollars, but through their child support? It would literally collapse. But yet and still we have the media blaming fathers for this stuff. The tax system that exists wouldn't be worth a darn if fathers weren't paying into that in addition. And some guys have considered and called the whole child support system a type of slavery. It's a new style slavery. They can't regulate at all what they put into the system. In fact, the state does that. And in some cases, the state asks these guys to pay more money than they actually earn. Now, this comes about when some of these guys get behind due to strikes or due to layoffs or whatever their personal circumstances are. They get behind, and then they have a double payment, the regular support plus the arrearage amount. And then there may be interest on top of that. So many of these guys feel a real burden here. And wouldn't you know, there's no state agency that they can go to and talk with. In the piece that I ran a little earlier, where Bob, out of the Seattle office, was talking about fathers and their income, there ought to be a law where if there is a father who is making not necessarily minimum wage, but living at poverty level or lower. And the poverty level figure is published every year. The office of the Social Security office will publish whatever poverty is, the poverty level. And they seem to have figures for a family size of 1. If you make less than so much money, you're living in poverty. Family size of 2, 3, 4, and 5, and so on. And they have 3 regions too. They have the 48 contiguous states is one region, Alaska is a region, and Hawaii is a region. So they have these poverty level figures that if you're making less than a certain amount of money, and I don't recall what it is right now, and we can put that on the air, but if you're making less, you're living in poverty. Well, there ought to be a law that says that if a guy is living at or below poverty, his child support ought to be temporarily suspended while he's living at poverty level. Why make a guy pay child support when he's living at or below the federal poverty level? Is the purpose to make him pay child support to run him truly in the ground? Is the purpose to make him pay child support when he's living at the poverty level to further enslave him? Well, if that is the purpose, then the job is being done very well. If there's any sort of humanity about the system at all, and guys have raised this question that it seems to be inhumane, maybe we ought to consider guys who live at or below the poverty level, and what can we do about such requirements as child support? Should we suspend it? Should we cut it in half? What should we do about that? I invite your questions and your comments on these things. There are guys who are living at or below the federal poverty level, and they just financially can't make it. But yet and still, they're asked to pay child support. If they don't pay the child support, they're thrown in jail, or their license is taken away from them, whether it's their driver's license or their working license, if they're a contractor, something like that. And they want to know what gives with a system like this. And so they've kind of dubbed the thing a slavery system because of the impact on them. Now, none of this means that guys don't love their children. They do love their children. They love them very much. And a lot of guys are real proud to be with their children. What I'd like to do, we have a little time here where we can run a little footage on a father and child. This guy is a father of a young child, a baby girl, and he's very proud of that. So I want you to take a look at it, and I guarantee you that this will touch your heart. Roll tape on the father and child.
Oh, very difficult.
Oh, okay, Daddy.
Oh, it's great being Mr. Mom. Although it's not as easy as I thought it was going to be. You know, I mean, hats off to all the single parents doing this. You know, what a job. Look at the clean girl. It's what everybody said it was going to be. It's just a great source of pleasure, and it's a miracle. Having a baby is a miracle.
I think that's a great tape to share with you, where there are guys like that in your neighborhood. There are guys like that all over the country who really, truly love to be with their children. The problem that we have, I think, as a society, we don't see that enough. The media doesn't show you that enough. The newspaper, the radios, the TV stations don't show you that tender side of guys. What they show you is the guy who's a buffoon. What they show you is a guy that's trying to beat the system on child support, and they seem to want to play that up quite a bit. What they don't show you is the real side of some of these guys. Now, as I've said, I've promised that we would have another fellow here talking, and have Tim here with us. Tim, why don't you say hello to everybody?
Good evening, Victor.
Now, you've been divorced for quite some time.
About 10 years.
Your divorce happened when? Back in 80?
About 10 years ago.
89 or
Yeah,
so.
89 or so.
Now, you have an interesting story. I'd like for you to listen to this. His story was, even though he was divorced in 1989, his ex-wife and he had an agreement. The agreement. Well, Tim, why don't you tell us what that agreement was?